Can I have your attention, please? We'll be starting up shortly. Good evening, and welcome to the Lowell Planning Board for Monday, August 21st, 2017. Tonight, we do have one public hearing and a couple of preliminary matters and a couple of other comments on old projects. To start off the meeting, we do have the minutes for approval of the May 15th meeting. Any board members have any comments or corrections on those? If not, I'd make a motion to approve.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Mr. Chairman, I was not present, so I will abstain.
Okay,
At the same time,
okay. So those have been approved.
May and June 9th.
Okay, the next matters will be for the minutes for the June 19th, 2017.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes from June 19th meeting.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes yes. Those minutes have been approved. Any opposition? Hearing none, they carry. Okay, for new business tonight, we have a public hearing for site plan review, 101 Phoenix Ave. The applicant has submitted by 5Gen 30 LLC for the construction of a new manufacturing building addition containing approximately 16,138 square feet of the existing building. The project is located in the light industrial zone district and requires site plan review under section 11.4 of the Lowell zoning ordinance. May we hear from the applicant, please?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, James Flood, 549 Roger Street, representing the applicant. If I may, I'd just like to give you some colored plans.
Oh, sure.
Tonight I'm representing 5Gen 30 LLC, and with me is Joseph Jolly, who's the manager, and also Plymouth Group, Inc., which is a family corporation that operates at the site, and it's Joe, his wife Jolie, and his sister Jennifer, and Jennifer's also here tonight. We're here for site plan approval for the construction of a new manufacturing facility located in the back of the existing building at 101 Phoenix Avenue. 5Gen 30 LLC has a purchase and sale agreement to purchase the building from Chungus Properties, Inc., the owner of the property, and he will also be the developer of the new building. Once completed, the site will contain approximately 31,138 square feet of retail and manufacturing space and a parking lot, which will have 27 spaces. Property is zoned LI Light Industrial, and it's allowed, and the proposed expansion is allowed with a special permit from this board. The reason we're here tonight is that the business at Plymouth Group has increased to such an extent that they either have to expand the building or find another space out of the city. They really have to expand it. And they've met with planning department before they came in here tonight, and they've been encouraged to try to develop within the city. Joe is a Lowell resident, as a matter of fact. He lives on Holyrood Avenue up the street from me, and he wants to stay in Lowell if possible. I've been informed that they did meet with representative of the planning department, and Christine has confirmed that. And like I said, they've been encouraged to stay in Lowell. A little bit of the history. Plymouth Group, Inc. has been in business since 2002. The business is the manufacturing of soups and sauces, and it is all done at the Phoenix Avenue facility. I don't know whether any of you have been there, but they do have a retail store, and they sell their chowders and soups and everything right there on site. Business has really grown. It started out at about 600,000, and this year they're going to be close to 19 and a half, or $20 million. So it's really grown. Employees, they started out with 7 employees and currently have 50, and plus 2 part-time employees. And seasonally, they could hire up to 15 more employees, at Christmas time or Thanksgiving time, they can bring in. They would anticipate, once this building is in service, they will immediately have 8 new employees, and in the next 2 to 3 years, another 20 to 30. So they really will bring people and business to the city of Lowell. I think the development is straightforward. I've read comments from staff, which wasn't much. I've asked Christine if there's any from the city engineer. She said he has no problems. But I have our engineer here that can go over the project if you'd like her to do it tonight. And I did speak to Jennifer Jolly Joe, and she intends to put some trees along the boundary line of the post office. I knew you'd like that. So I can turn it over to Joyce Hastings, who's from Level Design LLC, to go over the project and answer any, and then we can answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Council.
Okay.
May I bring my board out to the easel?
Absolutely.
Yeah, right here.
And there's a microphone there, Joyce, that you can use.
You just have to push it so the green button comes on, so it'll amplify. And if you're uncomfortable with that one, you can use the one behind you, whatever one you're more comfortable with.
There's like, the green button's on.
Okay.
So this is the property in this area here. It's 64,512 square feet. The brown are the existing 2 buildings on site that they're operating out of. They have 3 cooling containers in this area here. This is the area of the proposed addition, this light orange that will connect these 2 buildings, and the floor elevation will be the same between the 2. As part of the project, they're going to remove a section of pavement in front of the coolers over here where I've colored it in green. And they'll be adding a section of pavement over here to access 2 new loading areas at the new addition. The addition's going to be located in an area that's now gravel or existing accessory structures or concrete in some areas. In order to mitigate for the increase in impervious surface, the surface of the roof will be the stormwater from the surface of the roof will be collected into 4 leaching pits connected in series that will handle the stormwater up through the 100-year storm. This particular area requires 1 parking space for 1,200 square feet, which is, as you stated, 26 spaces. The existing pavement will be restriped. Right now, there's 25 spaces. It'll be restriped so that there will be 27 spaces within this area here. And that's really the limit. Everything that's colored in green, there will be some minor grading in the areas. It will be loamed and seeded upon completion so that everything is stabilized. And that will be the extent of the project.
Thank you.
That's, I just wanted to point out that back building will primarily be used for manufacturing, because that's where they need the space, so.
Anything else? Attorney Flood on behalf of
Well, I
the
don't have
applicant?
anything here, but we'll be
Okay.
glad to answer any questions that you might have.
This time, I'm going to turn over to see if anybody is here this evening who'd like to speak in favor of this project. Anybody want to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none at this time. Anybody in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? Hearing none. I'll turn it over. Any board members have any questions?
I have a couple, I guess.
Mr. Lockhart?
What about trash removal? Is that what I'm looking at in the
There's 2
front?
dumpsters there, Rich.
Right in the front?
Yeah. The dumpsters, I think they're located in the front, and there's 2 there that will be, picked up regularly.
Access to those could be an issue there, maybe?
Excuse me?
Access to those could be an issue because they're backing right up to the parking space.
They're located at the far end, I think.
Yeah. Sir, if you cut the microphone, please? Okay, thank you. And just
It
state your
just
name.
looks like
Yeah.
you got it backed up to
That
the
way people can hear, not just him, but you
parking
can use.
space.
Hi, this is Joe Jolly, and The two dumpsters that are there are going to continue to be the dumpsters that will service the building. There's a 30-yard trash compactor and a 40-yard corrugated compactor, and they've been in that location for the last 15 years.
Okay. What about handicap parking? I don't see anything outlined here. Is that taken care of?
If you look at, there's one space up in the front that's labeled handicapped on that.
Oh, there is? All right, I'm sorry, I missed it. All right, that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Lockhart. Mr. Boyle?
I have a question for Christine. Engineering's happy with the stormwater?
They didn't raise any concerns, and I don't have anything in writing, but, so a broad condition, just final approval by the city engineer, I think would be sufficient.
Okay. That was really the only question I had. Happy to see an industrial use expanding in the city.
Yeah.
Thank you. Dick, any questions, comments?
No, I have no issues. Again, like Mr. Boyle said, I'm glad to see a growing business continue in the city. I have no issues with it.
Yeah. They want to stay.
Thank you, Dick. Mr. Fischett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As well, I agree. We'd like to see more of this type of development where appropriate, and creating jobs is, it's nice to see that there's potential for increased employment at the site as well. And I do want to comment that I thought was a big improvement on the striping, is it looked like there was stack parking from the lines when I went over there, and so this is, you're really not changing much other than the striping, but it really makes a big difference versus what's there right now. So
They'll clean it up and stripe it, and it just does conform.
yeah,
27
no.
space.
And I was just rechecking the numbers on the parking table, and I mean that's meets the requirement. So from that perspective, I think for a light industrial site, I think it's appropriate what you're looking to do. I think it's, I think that I'm glad that you have an opportunity to expand on that site, and sometimes that's a problem within the city. Success puts you in a situation where you outgrow a particular location. So it's nice to see you do have the room to expand. And again, I do think the configuration of the parking is a big improvement from what's currently there.
Right.
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Christine, does staff have any comments further than what they've supplied to us? I think basically there was, as Attorney Flood alluded to, there wasn't many comments, just what you gave us was kind of a summary of the application. For anything particular that they wanted? And engineering was happy with Joe picked up on, or they wanted a final say, was it?
Yes, just final approval in case there's anything down the line that needs some tweaking.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I
Sure.
just have one
Go
question
ahead.
to Attorney Flood? And I'm sorry, I thought I heard you say something about trees, Attorney Flood, or something. What did I miss something? So where were you looking to?
Well, Jennifer wants to put trees along the boundary line next to the old post office on our property,
Okay,
a line of trees.
okay. Was that in the plan anywhere?
Not in the plan, nope, it's not in the plan.
Okay.
Not much room for landscaping there, but,
No, not at all, I understand.
but I did speak to her earlier, and I told her that might be some concern about some trees, so she said I'd be willing to do that.
I mean, it would be an opportunity, I mean, even though it's light industrial, it does add to the, even for the employees, it just adds to the general
Privacy.
feel of it, yeah, so.
Yeah, so she's gonna put a line of trees in there.
If you have no objection, I would probably include that in there and,
We can
in
put
the
in
conditions. Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. Great, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No problem.
I have one for.
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Lockhart.
Just dawned on me, you're gonna change the outside lighting here at all? Is there any need for that?
I don't think so. I think it's gonna probably stay the same. I think that's how I answered my, and then the lighting's gonna stay
Pretty
the
much,
same.
yeah, okay, well, that's all. All I have, Mr.
Okay. basically, I just have basically one comment. It's always good to see a business in the city of Lowell stay in the city of Lowell and expanding. So I always favor that.
Yeah.
Always favor that. And indicated, I think it's a good plan. They sell a good product. I've been there several times. And
It's a good product.
yeah, I've been down here. It's nice. Easy to get to. You have the set of lights right there to pull in and out of Phoenix Ave, which makes it easy for anybody getting in and out of there. So.
But I want to say this for the record, that they told me that staff at the city were very, very helpful, and they complimented them in their help in putting this all together, so I think.
It's always a
they
good
should
thing to
know.
hear. We appreciate that.
Yep.
I know they work hard.
Yeah, I do.
So I'm in favor of the project. Wish of the board.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the site plan as presented.
Could you add that with the final approval by the city engineer?
Oh, yes,
The adding of a couple of trees?
yeah, yes.
So the motion's out to final approval, in favor, final approval by the city engineer, and to put a few trees in as the applicants stated they would do.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Good project, very good.
The vote's in favor, 5-4, none against. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, before we move on, the minutes of June 19th, that was the meeting that I missed. First meeting I wasn't able to attend since I joined the board, so I'd like to be on as abstaining on the approval of those minutes. Yes.
Okay. So we'll amend that as allowed, okay? As the motion of the maker?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, moving along, we have a preliminary discussion on 230-232 Appleton Street. A proposal to discuss the redevelopment of existing mixed-use building located the UMU zoning district. The proponent wishes to redevelop the structure into all residential units. May we hear from the applicant, please?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Attorney Stephen Geary, and I represent my client, Bill Mandel, who is the principal of Appleton Street LLC and the president of a greater development company called Ocean City Development. Mr. Mandel and his team have developed and built from ground up and redeveloped over 400 units in Massachusetts. A lot of those units are in the Boston area, East Boston, Somerville, and the surrounding areas. Quite a while ago, he bought the building at 230, 234 Appleton Street that I'm sure this board's familiar with. And just by way of background, a few months ago, we met with members of the planning department with Mr. Mandel's initial plans, which called for several more units that are listed on the plan right now and no additional parking. The meeting was helpful because during the meeting, it was brought to our attention that they're really looking for a way to find more parking. So, it's urban, as you know, there's residential in that area, and it's just life in the city. There's just not a lot of parking. But he was able to go back to his architect, who's here tonight, to discuss this if necessary, about how they added 4 side-by-side parking spaces in the bottom floor where the commercial unit is right now. So the building right now has, I believe, 9 residential units and the 2 commercial units downstairs. So what he'd be looking to do is make it all residential, a complete rebuild from studs down to make this a really, really good-looking, aesthetically pleasing building that's very pleasing to the neighborhood and makes sense architecturally and historically, and it will blend right in. The building as it stands now is almost dilapidated. It was the condition he bought it, and he does what he can to keep it up, but it's not economically feasible to redevelop this property without a minimum of the units that he's requesting. And he did find 4 additional spots that he could put in there. To do that, he would make it all residential, eliminate the commercial bays that he has now, which would prevent him from being able to use it as a commercial use, which I think would create additional parking demands, probably far greater than residential. He does have 2 handicap units that are on the right side, which I believe is 234. There were some comments that we received by the planning department that I apologize, but it took me a while to get a response because of my schedule, but I can just address those quickly. There are 2 handicap spots in the same building. The parking spaces are 18 by 21. The curb the curb cut as you see it from the street at 234 is sufficient, and the size of that garage door on the second one is 22 to 23 feet. I understand there could be an issue with that curb cut, and we can address that. They will provide a stair lift. If you can see from the building, in between the building, there's existing stairs right there and a courtyard separating the two buildings as it goes back. And there'd be a stair lift there, so they would build this to code. Everything would meet code inside and out. There was a reference to a spiral staircase. That is an interior component of this project, and I believe that's just a second means of egress. So there'll be sufficient and means of egress for this property. It will meet all code requirements, and the investment that Mr. Mandel is willing to make is significant. The benefit to the city is we get additional much-needed residential spaces. We take away a burdensome commercial use that's on the bottom floor, and the people who he anticipates would live there would understand that this is, life in the urban environment that doesn't come with a lot of parking. So there's public transportation nearby. The main city is in walkable distance, the university and businesses around there, and especially with the anticipated redevelopment of that area, including the courthouse. So it seems like if we have a developer who's willing to come in and tear that building down to studs and rebuild it to make it a beautiful building on that one of the main corridors in the city of Lowell, especially where we're going to get more people coming into the city of Lowell by way of the use of the courthouse that's under construction now. I think this is a good opportunity to get some really good pre-application feedback from this board. But Mr. Mandel took the comments that I received when we met informally with the planning department, incorporated that into his new plans to have all residential units, 15 residential units with 4 parking spots. So in essence, it's not going to be really any different than it is right now, because the additional units, we're adding the parking for those units. So if there is a parking burden now, we're not going to see a substantial increase in that. What we do think he will see is, what the city will see is a fabulous building that will go there. So we're interested in hearing your questions to the extent that we can provide answers and eventually come back here with an updated site plan for site plan review and incorporate some comments that this board may have. So we're happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Counsel. Any of the board members have any questions? Mr. Snetsky?
I'll address this to you, Christine. In this type of a situation where the 9 units exist, and they'd be adding to that, are the parking requirements grandfathered, or as a new development, do the existing zoning parking requirements kick in, and we would have to waive them?
They wouldn't be grandfathered in, they'd have to go get a variance, because the existing structure is mixed use with 9 units, and they're redeveloping for 15. So technically, they'd have to bring it into compliance, so there would be a variance needed.
In addition to the site plan approval?
And a special permit for
And
the
a
use
special
from you.
permit for use. Okay. At this point, that would be my question. Mr. Geary, would you be anticipating going before the
Yes,
ZBA?
for at least the variance for the parking.
Okay,
Yeah, definitely.
thank you.
And that would be after this board, that would be usually marked up. I believe when I've done it before, it's the week after that, so.
Thank you.
Mr. Fischett?
Visually, at least from the preliminary drawings we have here, I certainly like the look. That's interesting with the archway between the two buildings and in the garage doors. Certainly, I think visually, it's very interesting. But my question to you is, and related to the parking as well, though, is What is currently, do you know, I mean, are residents parking on the street? Do most of the tenants not have automobiles? Just some ideas.
I believe it's a combination, but I'll let Mr. Mandel answer that. You just
Just come to the microphone, please, sir, and give us your name if you would. Thank you.
The current residents now, there's probably, I'm sorry, William Mandel.
Thank you, sir.
The current residents now, I think, there's 10 residential units, and probably 2 have a car. So it's not, it's very, mostly everybody there uses public transportation, works locally, things like that, and that's what that's one of the things that attracts us to Lowell is for that reason, that it's, very commuter friendly for people that don't have automobiles.
Okay, I mean, I think that's kind of a challenge. I don't know what you're looking to do with the cost of the renovation and then what you're looking to charge for rents versus what's there right now, but whether the profile of the tenant that's in there changes, and whether it is going to be, will you be looking at trying to accommodate some sort of parking, whether it be off-street or on-street, combination. On the 4 parking spots that you're going to have underneath, how will you designate who gets those? Is that,
That's something that we're still in the, still contemplating as to how they're going to get divided. I think it's, to be honest with you, I think that, I don't think it's going to be heavily desired for somebody to have one of those parking spaces, because from what we found, that most people who live in that area don't necessarily have automobiles. Maybe it'd be preference for the people that live there now who have the automobiles, that they would get first preference, or maybe the units that, have more bedrooms, because maybe they're, a family that has 1 car,
Sure.
Things like that. But we haven't, I haven't identified the parking spaces to specific units, because we're really not at that point yet, so.
okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Fischetta, if I could just, sorry, Mr. Chairman, if I could just address one thing with the parking. I wanted to mention it when I first spoke, but since we met with, informally with the planning department and the parking engineer, I had gone up and down Appleton Street. Maybe some of you did it tonight on the way here, but I had done it for the last 2 months at various times. On the weekends, what I find in the morning, afternoon, and at night on the weekends, there's no problem with on-street parking. From 4 o'clock, and my office is right down there, so I purposely just, when I have to go up and down, from 4 o'clock on, there's usually no problem with parking. I believe tonight on my way over, there were 22 available spots. They don't tow after 6, so there's no issues with that. I didn't see anybody using those spots, so it tells you that that area around there doesn't have a huge residential parking issue. What I think takes up a lot of the spots is during the day, the sprinkled in commercial or businesses that are on that street. Certainly from 9 o'clock, even 8:30 until 2, it's pretty taken. I mean, it's congested there. Not all the lots, the private lots are filled there, but there's in and out people too. They're metered. But, certainly from overnight until the morning, there is not an on-street parking burden that I could see over the last couple of months trying to go at various times. So between now and whatever the meeting is, if anybody goes by there, I think that you'd see the same thing.
I would just ask you, Counselor, when you come back to us for a public hearing, be prepared to make that case.
Yeah.
I think it probably would be beneficial, just some sort of an analysis of, and even if you work with the planning department, I suspect, or Nick.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I will do that.
In preparation of that, just to give us some information on that. I mean, I know, other than the hours, the Owl Diner is in operation. I agree. I mean, from some of your observations, and if you take a look at it as a store 24, that has a huge parking lot. I don't think that's
nobody
uses
walks.
It. Yeah, nobody uses that.
There's 4 cars there. That's one of the points when I go by.
Yeah.
There's usually 3 or 4 cars there at the most, and you wonder if the store's open. But you walk in the store and it's mobbed because everybody from around there. So I think that community, that block or 2 blocks right now is heavily residential people without cars that walk or are in an income level where they can't afford a car. And even in this case, whether it's students or new tenants, they would go in there knowing the parking constraints and understanding that if they're looking to have a car, when they pull in, other than the 4 spots, they're unlikely to get that. They're going to have to find their own parking. So he would market to that person.
Now, I was gonna say that Store 24 is a shining example of a suburban design put into an urban setting, and
Right, they could almost have a storefront there,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and not have
exactly.
any kind of burden except for their employees who may not even.
But I would just ask you, when you come for the public hearing, be prepared to kind of present that to the board. I think that
Right,
would
and
be
we'll work
helpful.
with the planning department, see if maybe we can get an informal study or even a formal study to find that out. Yep.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Mr. Shep. Mr. Boyle?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, Attorney Gary's representations about the availability of parking certainly line up with my experience. Even during the heaviest hours of demand for the Owl Diner on the weekends, which is also a period when the residential cars are going to be there, it's never a problem to find parking on the street. And it might be worth looking into. There is that big Store 24 parking lot. There, it might be worth looking into speaking with them about a possibility of meeting your parking demand. But to get away from the parking, I like commercial space. This argument, we're taking away burdensome commercial space and adding residential units. You know, I love residential units in the area. I think it's very important to add residential units into this district and the greater downtown area in order to support the commercial development. But this is UMU, right, Christine?
UMU, yes.
Yeah, this is UMU. That's a mixed use. It allows for commercial. All else being equal, I'd prefer not to lose commercial space. I wonder if your clients have looked into trying to keep commercial space and finding a tenant.
I think that for my client to make it economically feasible, he would want to do what he does, which is residential redevelopment, and I think you're right. You know, you do need a mix, and that's why it is UMU. I foresee what's coming in that area with the courthouse coming and the other development. There are going to be a flood of commercial requests in that area because that's who's going to make money in that 9 to 5 area. So I think there's going to be a lot of commercial. So I understand your point, but I just think if you're thinking to the future, I don't think we're going to be wanting for commercial space. I think there's going to be plenty of it. I may be wrong, but I know that if you go to other courthouses that I go to all the time, the courthouse gets built and then it's like a spin-off around it. Commercial comes. You won't see a lot of renovations like this for residential in a commercial area.
And, you know, to be perfectly fair, this isn't neighborhood business. This is UMU, which does anticipate having straight residential development in addition to mixed. So that would be an appropriate use in terms of the land use plan for the city. This is just at the conceptual level. You know, on the conceptual level, this seems an appropriate thing. You know, I do have a slight preference for keeping commercial if that's possible, but other than that, the design looks good. I'm not going to bang the drum for more surface parking anywhere. So, you know, how it gets done and the details that get worked out after this point, but on the conceptual level, this seems like something that's on the right track for the area.
Thank you. Mr. Lockhart?
I just have one question relative to accessibility, the upper stories, the handicap. Have you addressed that?
Yeah, there's going to be two new handicap units in the right side, which I believe is 234.
Yes, I read that, yeah.
And the center of the two buildings is the existing stairs, and there will be a chairlift there, so everything will be compliant with handicap. They'll meet all code requirements, and they'll have a lift that goes all the way up. So it's really that would be the only way for somebody who's handicapped to get into those units.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
all I have.
I really think that you know, when we come back and we bring
That makes it work.
a picture of what the end product will look like, it'll be really impressive based upon what my discussions with my client and what I know already about the proposal. And you can see what's there now, and it's the opposite of that. I mean, if you walk up the stairs and walk back, you can see a lot, you can almost go back in your mind 100 years and say, what an unbelievable building this must have been back then, but now it's pretty bad. And to restore that down to studs and have that historical look back into it in that area that's going to be redeveloped for that whole jam area, and all the people that are going to be coming to the city that haven't been here before down that what is now going to be almost the main corridor to the city will take a building that looks terrible now and make it a building that's very, very impressive.
Anything further? No?
No, I'm good.
Okay. I noticed there was one comment about the primary means of access for the spiral stairway. Did that stay? Or I think that's the last comment that Christine gave on August 15th, 17th, that she submitted to us.
Right, so just to clarify, the spiral staircase is in the interior of the building, right? I mean, that's, yeah, I'm sorry, interior of the unit. I'm gonna let the architect address this.
Sure, I'll just want to accept that comment, because obviously we,
Hi, I'm Stephen Pettipas of Aesthetic Images. The spiral staircase is being used as a second means of egress for a single unit. So the spiral stair is contained within a unit, which I believe is allowable. There is some space that I could move things around if the building commissioner decides that he would prefer a straight stair. We can make it work.
all right, thank you. So if I remember correctly, this was the old upholstery there, right, in the building there?
Yes, it was a
There?
car upholstery business to the left, and then
Right,
there's
to
the
the left,
office,
yeah.
and then the 3 bays, I believe. So the parking would be along the front, and then it would be built up from there. I believe there's a flat roof on the right side. When you're walking up the stairs, there's a flat roof,
Okay.
flat rubber roof, yes, that's right.
So where's your parking, it's gonna be underneath? Or
Yep, straight on street level.
Oh, street level, okay.
Street level,
I got
1,
you.
2, 3, 4, not front and back.
Okay.
So we're adding 4
spots.
spots that aren't there now,
Yeah.
and, requesting the additional, I guess if you go from the total, if we talk just residential units, from 9 to the 15, with adding the 4 spots.
Those,
So, go ahead.
thank you. Those garage doors, those are each individual single parking spaces?
Yeah,
Each
the,
gar-
yes, you know what, I can let do you want to address this?
Each of these garage doors shown on this elevation represents a single parking space?
On the drawings that was
Just
submitted
to
to
correct
us?
how we had the parking,
That's what it shows.
there's 230 Appleton's on the left, which is like what you see the upholstery businesses now, and there's actually, at one point, that was a garage door on that side. On the 234 Appleton Street, which is the building on the right, there currently is 2 overhead doors there. So there would be, the parking would actually gonna be 2 spots under 234 and 2 spots under 230, rather than, I think the way Steve said, it was gonna be all in one building.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And there isn't enough room in between those 2 groups of 2 for a parking space. Are we losing 4 on-street parking spaces to add 4 off-street parking spaces? Because if that's the case, that,
There's a curb cut there. There's currently garage doors there, or have been for many years. So those are not, correct, Mr. Geary?
Well, I couldn't hear you, Dick.
What I was, the question Mr. Boyle was raising about, are we losing on-street parking? And my comment was, having been familiar with that business many years ago, those are currently live garage door spaces, so they're not on-street parking spaces now.
Right, so I believe the owner of the commercial use just wound up his business, so they're no longer active, and people park in front of them, but if you remember going by there during the years they were open, those doors were always open, and nobody ever parked in front of it, because that's how they would get the cars in and out. So, I see what you're saying, it's, if right now people are parking there, because nobody uses them, but if you look inside, I think there's 2 cars in there and a boat. I think there's 2 cars and a boat inside, 3 of those bays. And nobody's coming in and out, so I think people recognize that it's been not in use right now, so they are parking in front. So in that sense, yes, but overall, from historically, there were bays that were used, and people didn't park in front of the bays. I think I think only because I remember having something fixed there 20 years ago on a roof of a convertible. You did park in front when you were going in to talk to them because you were blocking like your own car and they could tell you to move. So I think that's what, you'd pull up in front. At least that's what I remember doing.
Those were live garage. I
Yeah.
had, was familiar with that business years ago myself. And
Yeah.
Yeah, that was live, garage
Yeah.
doors that they brought their vehicles that they serviced in and out of.
Right, and you see throughout the city, there are a few in the area around the Circle. I forget the name of the street, but up in the Portuguese area where the Circle is, they have
Central?
Back Central. They have a couple of businesses just like that going down towards the Whipple where, they pull in and they work on the cars, but somebody working there might be blocking the driveway, but they just move them. So
E&L Auto, right on the site.
yeah, right, exactly.
So, okay, like I said, I'm not sweating parking demand overall particularly, but I think this is a conversation I'd like to have brought up by planning staff as this goes forward. From an urban design perspective, is 4 curb cuts and 4 garage doors on the street here in this pedestrian district instead of parallel parking along the street and something other than garage doors facing onto the street. Is this really the best urban design to fit into the district? I raised this more as a question. I'd like to have this talked out, run by the design planners at the DPD and see what they have to say.
Right, and if it came to where, parking wasn't going to be a major issue and it was understood that it's urban and it's urban residential, people have to find a place, there may be a redesign of that and a different use of the front part. But it would be a substantial curb cut from the beginning to the end of that building. I forget the exact footage, but,
So that's what occurred to me, and it occurs more as a question than as anything else. I'd be interested to hear back from the DPD on that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any further questions?
I have none.
Okay, I think you got our feedback, and
great.
hopefully we
Appreciate
can
the
do
time,
it.
gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Welcome, have a good evening. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Berry Road. And moving along on the agenda, we had a preliminary discussion for 467 Gorham Street. We received a letter today that they would request that they take them off the agenda tonight so they can come back at a future date when they have more information to present to the board. So since it's a preliminary matter, we don't need a vote on that, so we'll move along on that one. The next matter we have is Berry Road subdivision. The proponent is requesting to change the approved site plan. Can we hear from the applicant on that, please?
Mr. Chairman, just for the record, I will be abstaining on this issue.
Okay, so Mr. Fischett will not be voting. Okay, so we have,
Okay.
Berry Road.
For the record, James Flood, 549 Roger Street, representing Tim Grover. If you remember, I represented him during the original approval process. Well, the project is almost done, with the exception of a strip located beside the road that the plans show to be a porous concrete strip that was going to be used for drainage down the side of the road. Alan Kazanj is with me tonight. He's the contractor. He's having problems. He cannot get anyone to come in and do porous concrete. We're willing to do porous asphalt, which is the same thing, and I just don't know what the difference is, and we're willing to mark it out so you know where it is. It's not a sidewalk, but I think the feeling was that if we had it, separate people could walk up that way, but that's the only thing left to be done in the project. Like I said, I've submitted a letter that Mr. Kazanjian had that they can't get anyone to come in and do the porous concrete, and he can explain why, if you want to do that, Alan.
Thank you. Alan Kazanjian, Kazanjian Enterprise.
Nice to see you again, sir.
Nice to see you, Mr. Chairman. We got on this like the tail end of it. We weren't here from the very start. And this little strip is a drainage strip if you're going down Berry Road on the left side of the roadway. And it calls for a porous concrete. And what we project to do is porous pavement if the board sees fit. The special equipment that you need to do to have this porous concrete installed and put in place, and there's no more equipment around. Because in the New England area, there's a couple of local contractors that did it around here, and they're having problems because the salt and the concrete just don't mix. It's breaking up the concrete. So there's no, as far as the special equipment to do this, it's not available. We checked with Kingston Ready Mix, who checked with many other concrete companies, and it's just not there. We've been working with them for at least 2 to 3 months to try to get it done, and we just can't. So the alternative route would be to use porous asphalt. Works the same way, and like Mr. Flood said, we can put some type of striping or some type of markings down there to show the difference of the little sidewalk area. Well,
Refresh my memory, so is that coming in, is that right before Megan's house on the left-hand side there, or is it down further?
it's
Down further on the expansion of
But down by the 2 houses?
the 4 houses.
Oh, I'm sorry,
The
it's
four-
in the way back.
Right.
So past that 4 houses?
No, it's going to start. It starts right after the Megan house.
Okay, before the 4 houses?
Right, right,
Okay.
and right in front of the 4 houses all the way down.
So that's where we wanted the area to be described more like,
Correct.
because on the other side, you had the slope with the neighbor on the other side, right?
That's all set.
We addressed,
Yeah,
right?
That's all set. It's just that left side where we're talking about. And we had no problem doing with concrete if the equipment was available, but it's just not there.
So, just a question, that will hold up just as well as anything
Oh,
else?
yeah, absolutely.
And
Much better.
Actually?
In the New England area with the salt situation, it'll hold up much better than the concrete.
what type of markings do you feel would be permanent enough to make it stick?
Some
to it?
type of striping that they do on a regular roadway.
I think you want to stripe outside because you don't conditions.
We'll do right at the edge of the roadway. Correct, correct.
Anybody here this evening, anybody else here this evening want to speak in regard to this matter? Anybody in the public want to speak on this? In favor? In favor? Against? Against? Okay. Any board members have any questions?
You know, it's really a matter of finding a contractor that knows how to work with this and has got the equipment.
Oh, yes, yes. Well, Brock's did the roadway, and he'll be doing the porous.
It's not a supply issue, it's a,
Oh, no.
yeah, that's available, it's just, yeah, okay.
Right.
All right, so that's all, just clarify that.
Does Mr. Boyle have any questions, or Mr. Snetsky?
I don't have any questions.
Dick, any questions, comments?
I today stopped into the office and got copies of the conditions that were put on it. And just to refresh my own memory, I remember that the gentleman who lives in the first house prior to Megan's house came and spoke at that meeting, and he didn't have any issues with this, but did we? Gave him an easement for his pool. That was for his pool.
Yeah.
Okay.
His pool was on your property.
Okay, but we had agreed to begin this sidewalk, if you will, after Megan's house. It did not begin at.
There was no sidewalk, there was a waiver of sidewalks. We agreed to put that drainage, I suppose you call it drainage.
Yeah, that's essentially
From Megan's house down. We did the whole street over from the beginning, They drew the street, we paved it, right?
Correct. They
Yeah, I drove up there, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, you know, to view it. We have a comment here from the interim city engineer that recommending that we not approve this. You know, you know, have you seen this, this comment? It is my opinion that the applicant should be held to the original planning board decision or otherwise reopen the whole street construction discussion. I'm willing to honor the previous city engineer's waivers regarding sidewalks, but would not entertain any further deviations from the plan. I'm inclined to take heed of the engineer's opinion, you know.
We're not asking for anything new. All we're asking is a difference in the type of material we put down. It's gonna serve the same purpose, Dick, and we can't get the concrete. That's the problem. And I don't know, you know, what else we can do. We're gonna, I think it was different colors because we wanted to identify areas. Although there was a waiver of sidewalks, people were gonna be able, my recollection, walk up that area. Is that your recollection too? And we tried
Yeah,
to
mine too.
differentiate it, and so that's why it was concrete. We can't, according to Alan, we can't get the concrete in there to finish this project. And this is all we have to do. We can delineate it. They can still use it to walk up. It's gonna serve the same purpose. And it's just concrete as opposed to asphalt. That's the only difference.
Well, I guess if the material's not available.
Well, I mean, that's why we're
It's
here.
not available, and, we've got to, you know, trust that what you're telling us is, you know, that there is no way to get this done.
It's not. We've been working on this for 3 months with my rep, the sales rep from Kingston Ready Mix, and he's been pulling his hair out of his head trying to get this thing done, and we just can't do it.
If it's not available, it's not available, I guess.
You were up there. It's a nice project. They've
Yeah,
done a
no,
nice
no,
job,
I mean,
and this is all there is to finish it, so.
No, I just, you know, have some concerns but with the comments from the engineer, you know. I understand what you're saying, and, you know,
Same
if it's
purpose.
not available, it's not available. But, you know, again, you know, I think, you know, it behooves us to, you know, listen to what our engineering staff tell us, you know, so. But again, if it's not available, it's not available.
I'll make a motion that it's not a substantial material change, that therefore will not have to go back to another public hearing.
I'll second that motion.
Motion
Discussion, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
I disagree. I think we should reopen this. I'm actually leaning towards agreeing that replacing the request for porous concrete with porous asphalt can be done. But remembering back to this project, this was going to work as our de facto sidewalk, and the separation of materials to provide a visual and textured difference between the drive area and what was going to be the walking area was something that was fairly important. I think that this needs to be, I think that we can get to a solution where replacing this concrete with bituminous, with porous bituminous can work just fine, but it needs to be carefully designed, and it needs to be done in a way that the planning staff and the engineering staff are okay with. I think we can do that, but I think it needs to go through a design process as opposed to just us okaying it tonight without actually getting input and without design being worked out between the applicant and the city. That's how I feel about it.
Excuse me, it's already been designed. All you're doing is putting, instead of the concrete on top of what the stone and sand was there, that's already been done, you're just putting pavement,
Yes, but
porous pavement.
it's been
The design has already been done.
yes, the design was
You're
already
just
done.
changing one material to another.
Yes, I get that, but you're saying the word just. The thing is, the change in material was a part of the design that we were counting on, of the visual distinction and a textured distinction between the asphalt driving surface and the concrete pseudo sidewalk was an important part of the design when we went through this. I think I would like something else that would serve that same purpose of providing that distinction, and that requires a little more design work, in my opinion.
Well, I think a striping will tell you the difference between the roadway and the sidewalk area.
Yeah, I think it very well could. I'd like to see a plan for that.
You could have.
Is it just, I mean, if there's just a stripe along the side of the road and then a wide area of pavement beside it, that looks, is that going to give drivers and pedestrians the confidence that this is a safe area to walk, or is it just going to look like there's a wide shoulder and encourage faster driving on the road?
I don't see what the difference would be, Joe, if we differentiate it. I mean, it's 4 houses is what we're talking about.
Right, and the
So-
fact that it's 4 houses and there's no more opportunity for development, it dead ends at wetlands and there's nothing across the street, so it is a small
Only 22
thing.
feet.
That's why that's why I would consider this. That's why I wouldn't demand concrete like a sidewalk. But if it's pavement and then a stripe and then more pavement, what that would tell me as a driver is that this is a roadway that has a wide shoulder, and that encourages faster speeds.
There's no sidewalk, that was waived. Sidewalks were waived, curbing was waived. The width is 22 feet. This is the only thing that's left to be done. It can be done, and it can be delineated where that area is. It operates the same way as if it was concrete, but we can't get the concrete.
See,
So, I mean, I just don't see what the difference is.
See, and that's where I disagree with you. I don't think that having continual surface of asphalt operates the same way as having asphalt that then transitions to a different material, concrete. Transition to a different material is, it's often done on crosswalk projects in order to draw additional attention and make the crosswalk safer, for the specific reason that going with a different material makes people realize that this isn't just straight driving surface and they have to be aware of pedestrian presence. It makes pedestrians feel more confident that they aren't just walking in a driving area, but they're walking in an area that is set aside for pedestrians. I recall that formally we waived the sidewalk requirement, but we waived the sidewalk requirement because of this, because we had all this discussion of how there was going to be something along the side of the road that was like a sidewalk.
This will be like a sidewalk too. It'll just have a yellow strip around it, so it'll delineate that. I don't see what the difference is, I really don't.
Okay, I think I've made my point about the value of changing materials and how it affects the pedestrian environment.
So back, we have a motion on the floor by myself, which was that it's not a substantial material change, and the motion was seconded by Mr. Lockhart. So all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Stetsky, aye. Mr. Boyle?
Nay.
Nay. So that vote carries 3 in favor one against, and one abstaining. Now, getting back to the change of the materials to be used, what else do you think, I'm just throwing this out, would also make it more to address Mr. Boyle's issue? Anything else besides striping would do it? Or can you do any type of bumping or a speed bump or just the striping alone? Or I know you've been doing the development for many years.
Oh, I
Mr.
think a stripe down that side. I mean, when you're driving on a roadway, I mean, you don't cross that on the right side. You don't cross that solid line on that shoulder. I mean, this is the same situation. I mean, so I just don't understand. Yeah.
I remember what we approved. I mean, so if we're sitting here talking about, you know, that material is no longer available, I mean, if it was available,
Yes,
I'm sure it would be done, the whole project would be done by now.
Right. Would be done. Yeah.
That's what I mean. So-
Could we put a 1-foot speed bump on the side too, inside the yellow line, just a 1-foot one? You don't want it across because you can't,
Right, but just, I mean, something more to help delineate it.
small speed bump.
That water's supposed to drain into that.
Yes, that's right.
With the,
Oh, yeah.
with the drainage, it could be a problem.
Okay, but I was just thinking if you had any suggestions, but if, I mean, if the material is not available, then, I mean, that's why I think, I don't think it's.
Maybe a rumble strip might help out, you know, like on what they have on the highway with the striping. Yeah.
And they also have those little plastic things the plow pushes down, you know,
Right.
during the winter.
It's all the
Or some
same.
of them now, what do they have on some, I mean, some of them they have on the side of the road where you hit the little rivets there, so.
That's one of those rumble strip, yeah.
That's what it's called?
Rumble strip.
Okay. Right. Because I mean, for me, you know, the material
can do
changes. The house is the same, the driveway's the same,
Right.
that's making the lane's the same, the easement's the same, the width of the road's the same. That's why I don't feel it's a substantial change. It's just one patch that
Right.
would have been consistently done.
Stripe and put rumble strips, that might do it.
Yeah, that would do it.
Put the rumble strip on the striping.
Mr. Chairman?
I'll do it.
Yes.
Might we, I hear the concern, but this is not a major thoroughfare, it's a dead-end street, there's, you know, there's 4 houses on it. I don't think you're gonna have an issue of people racing up the street just because of that.
Right.
If we were to add the condition of both a rumble strip and striping, would that work for you?
Yes.
I personally, I'd like to add that as a condition, Mr.
So
Chairman.
you could make that as a motion for the approval of the.
Change of materials,
Right.
Material.
adding a rumble strip and
Stripe.
painted striping.
Correct.
So you put that in the form of a motion? Okay.
Yes.
The motion's made by Mr. Snetsky.
I'll second the motion.
Motion second.
Discussion, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
My experience on the planning board and working at planning boards is that no design work ever done at the planning board meeting itself is ever any good. Design work should be worked out between the applicant and his designer and the professionals in the DPD and then brought to us. If it's not a substantial and material change and doesn't need to go back to advertising and everything, I can live with that. But I would like an idea of whether it's a rumble strip or whether it's striping or whether it's a different type of striping than one would normally use, or whether it's something that's done to this particular area of the pavement. I would like that to be run by design planners or engineers or somebody and hear what they have to say about it as opposed to us just acting tonight. Staff recommended that this not be approved.
No, I don't believe you, that is the case.
Well, Nick, the engineer
Yeah, the
recommended.
engineer, but there was also comments from the planning department mentioning that the board may wish to require the applicant to extend the rumble strip down the entire length of the new roadway, and may also wish to require the proponent to stripe the roadway. Those were recommendations from staff.
Okay, okay, I still would like to see a plan that staff okays. So if we could include a condition that staff sign off on a final plan on this, I'd be happy to act on it tonight.
So we have a motion before the floor that's been made by Mr. Snetsky, second by Mr. Lockhart, to give the striping and the rumble strip. So what's the vote? I have one motion made and motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes yes.
Aye.
Mr. Boyle votes against, so that
No, I'll
motion...
vote aye on this, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry?
I'll vote aye.
I'm sorry. didn't
I
you-
will vote aye.
Aye, okay.
We just want to condition it, right?
Yes, I just,
Yeah,
yes.
okay. All right.
Can we include that condition of a final sign-off? Can we amend the motion to include that?
Certainly.
So what was the amendment on the motion? To have what?
The,
I'm sorry.
As I understand it, we are voting to approve the change of materials, adding striping and a rumble strip, and the DPD staff to sign off on the final design
Okay.
of that.
All right. Yeah, because the first motion was a substantial change to this one. Does DPD have a comment on signing off on that, or do you have a problem with that? If not, bring it back before
That's
that.
standard procedure.
So,
That was part of DPD's original comments anyway.
right,
Yeah.
that was in the comments, correct, okay. That satisfactory to the applicant?
Sounds good.
What type of time frame do you think you can be complete with that?
As
It's
soon as
been
we get
holding
the-
you up for so
As soon as
long.
we get the plan in place, and we'll start right away. Yeah, so
Shouldn't
Is
take
that
long.
something that takes long, Mr. Kazania? No?
It's at the
Does that
pavement.
take long to get Brock's up there to put that in?
Oh, no, no.
No, no, that should go
He's
quick.
ready.
Yeah.
I can do it in a day.
They've been ready, yeah, so.
Wish you well. Good luck.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Moving along, we have Walker Street. The proponent has made a design structural change to the approved unit.
We made another one.
Who is this gentleman?
Let me just give you this.
So this is the project that was just before us recently.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I submitted a plan.
That was just back in last meeting, last July, yep. Oh. God bless you.
For the record, James Flood, 549 Roger Street, representing John Molinari, who's with me tonight. The plan I gave you tonight is basically the same as was submitted, but when I looked at the plan, I noticed that there was no second means of egress from the upstairs unit, so stairs have been put on this one and the back of the deck. We went to the Board of Appeals, and they had us change the plan around a little with a farmer's porch in the front and two decks in the back. And John, after he got the approval, he went out and laid it out on the ground. And when he saw how close the back area of that building was to the abutters, he said there's no privacy. So he went with his architect to try to redesign it. So the redesign moves the entrance to the building. It's now facing Walker Street, and that's where the parking spaces are. So they would come out and go right to the parking space. There's a little porch in the front of that building, and the back is faces the open space and the canal that's back there. So it's not going to disturb anyone. So I think it's probably a better plan for the neighborhood, and it gives more privacy. And it changed from a duplex to a two-family, so. That's why we're here tonight. It's basically this, it's a little shorter than the other one and a little wider, but I think it's a better plan.
It doesn't affect any of the dimensional requirements?
No, everything still will conform. Everything still will conform. But it's really close to the abutters on the side, so that's why he's doing it. You want to say anything, John?
Yes. Like he said, when I laid it out, when you looked at the building, the farmer's porch was on the right. So when you came out of the building, almost like you were walking into their fence. And the back decks, it was facing the other neighbors. The backyard there with the canal is nice, so I wanted to have the decks on the back. So that's basically, and now the buildings, the front of the building's facing Walker Street, which I think is better. So, that's all.
Any board members have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I'm disappointed we didn't actually think of this design when it first came to us. Because it actually makes a lot of
So,
sense.
we've been through a couple of designs, but I think it's much better.
Yeah, no, I have to say, I think that actually it improves the original approval that was rendered by this board. So I certainly,
Yeah, I think it's much better. It's a lot, especially with the decks in the back and the open space.
no, that'll make a nice spot in the back, sure, yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I agree aesthetically, this is an improvement. This looks nice. And having that second deck looking out over the water, lovely. My only concern is, have you actually worked out the dimensions and determined you have enough room for the landing area at the bottom of the stairs coming from the second floor before you hit those stairs coming out of the first floor?
You spoke to the engineers.
Yeah, I have.
It's easier to show than tell on this.
Yeah,
The stairs coming from the second floor, they get interfere with the stairs on the
yeah,
first
I was
floor.
looking at that also.
This area, do you have enough of a landing?
I think we do, and if we didn't, when I was looking at that, I thought we could.
It's coming down here now.
Back that way. You know what I mean? Right, we just go around the corner a little bit and go down that way, but I think we do have it. Yeah, which would be good.
So the answer to that one was yes, they have the room, and if it turns out they don't, then they can work around it in a way that would make it even nicer.
We got a little porch in the front here too, Joe.
Yes, yes. You have a front porch facing the front, and you have a back deck facing the back. Perfect.
Coming out into the car, where the cars are. Where the 6 of them are together.
Very nice.
We listened.
Any questions, Dick?
No, I think this is a good.
Richard?
I have none, it's an improvement in the design.
I think it is, I really do.
Sure it is.
I'll make a motion that it's not a substantial or material change.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Boyle. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, that motion carries. Now we need a vote for the change on the dimension of the house with the deck and stairs.
I'll make a motion to approve as submitted.
Okay?
I'll second that.
Motion made by Mr. Boyle, second by Mr. Lockhart. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes yes. Any opposition? Hearing none, that motion carries.
Thank
Good
you
luck.
very
Wish
much.
you well.
Nice little project.
Those votes were all 1, 2, 3, 4, nothing, because Jerry, you're,
I voted on this one.
oh, you voted
Vote
on
on
this
this
one.
one,
The
too.
last
Yeah.
one. Okay.
Yeah, the he abstained on the, on
the
the
last
other one, so Jerry was on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jerry abstained on Berry Road.
Steve Jennings.
Moving along on the agenda, does any of the planning board members have any updates of these out to the boards that they've been sitting on?
I have just a quick update from the historic board, but a quiet summer, we're working on a sign program downtown, and the administrator, Steve Stoll, is working, I think he's putting up another 12 or 15. Those little green signs indicate the historical significance of buildings. Our next meeting is on September 11th,
9/11, is it? Okay.
9/11.
Okay. Mr. Fitzgerald, do you have anything from NIMCOG coming up, or?
Mr. Chairman, we do not have a meeting in August, so we'll be getting our meetings again in September. So
And don't you usually have an annual meeting coming up in
we will
September?
have, yeah, at that point, we'll have, well, that should be for October, so we'll have the
I know you usually-
information.
I know you usually bring us in a
I think
handout or
Mr.
an
Boyle
invitation.
and I know Mr. Lockhart's
Yeah, I
attended
like
on
to
a regular basis, and I think Dick was there last time too as well.
Um,
Yeah, we had a good contingency. We almost had a, oh geez, we have to post a public notice.
Okay, do we have anything else on old business?
Under old business, Mr. Chairman, I just would like to wish a happy anniversary to my wife this evening. It's 35th wedding anniversary
Oh,
this evening, so I spent it here at the planning board.
God bless her.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned her anyways. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I just wanted to update the board. Looking around town on a number of old projects. The project we approved a while back on South Street, the Brazilian Bakery, I noticed that building's down.
South
The project we approved a while back, the industrial project on Western Ave, that looks like it's almost complete at this point, remember the industrial condos?
Yep.
And I see that they have started and actually have done quite a bit of work on the Chestnut Street project, if you remember that one.
In addition, they've started working on the Central Street project. They started excavating that, Central Crosby, Butler Avenue.
Oh, yep, they started excavating there. There's also a foundation hole on that Plain Street project. The one about the Chestnut Street project, have they come in to anybody, to your knowledge, about the road going one way? That was one of the conditions.
We had sat down and talked to them about it. It's sort of been tabled for the time being, but we will revisit that conversation with the new interim city engineer / transportation engineer as we get closer to occupancy.
Oh, okay.
I just have one question for staff. I was watching the local TV this weekend, and I saw we had our city manager on there, say he's bringing through a new zoning regulation going before the city council for the marijuana ordinance in the city of Lowell.
That's right, yeah.
And it'll be before the city council within the next month, so know that most of those things do come before the planning board first, so is that on our radar, or is?
It is. It's been drafted. It's
For
been
new
kicked around a few times. It went up to the law department, so we're just putting final touches on it to present it to the city council, probably to be sent to the zoning subcommittee, and then eventually to you
Back to us.
folks. Yep.
Okay, all right, thank you. Yeah, I did see that on the news, so I figured they'll end up in front of us somehow, sometime
Oh,
in the
yeah,
future.
it's gotta,
Yeah.
no, we already went through one rendition.
Okay, any other updates? If not, we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Fichette. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Second, aye.
Okay, chairs in favor? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Good night, and thank you, everyone. It looks like you have materials there for us.
Oh, more stuff.